Welcome to U.S. Briefing. The content of the briefing includes what we know about Biden and House Speaker Mike Johnson's working relationship, Maine Democrat Revers' stance, backs ban on assault weapons after mass shooting, U.S. attacks facilities in Syria linked to Iran, Pentagon says, U.S. opens its northernmost diplomatic station in Arctic Norway, former President George W. Bush to throw out ceremonial first pitch before World Series opener. What we know about Biden and House Speaker Mike Johnson's working relationship. Yahoo! The White House sees the election of House Speaker Mike Johnson as a new moment in which to, at least at the outset, work across the aisle, and is beginning to assess whether it's possible to cut a spending deal with him that avoids a government shutdown in 3 weeks, according to White House officials. Maine Democrat Revers' stance, backs ban on assault weapons after mass shooting. Yahoo! Representative Jared Golden, Democrat Maine, has reversed his stance on assault weapon bans following a deadly mass shooting in his state that left at least 18 people dead. Golden, who is a centrist Democrat, had previously voted against a ban on assault weapons in the House last year. However, in a news conference on Thursday, he called on the United States Congress to ban assault rifles. Senator Susan Collins, Republican Maine, also a centrist, said she would not back a ban on assault weapons but would push for a ban on very high-capacity magazines for firearms. U.S. attacks facilities in Syria linked to Iran, Pentagon says. Al Jazeera. The U.S. has attacked 2 facilities in Syria used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Iran-backed groups, according to the Pentagon. The strikes came in response to recent attacks against U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria that Washington has blamed on armed groups backed by Iran. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin stated that the strikes were in self-defense and were not connected to the Israel-Hamas conflict. The U.S. has warned that it will take further measures if attacks against U.S. forces continue. U.S. opens its northernmost diplomatic station in Arctic Norway. Reuters. The United States is set to open its northernmost diplomatic station in the world in Tromsø, northern Norway, on Friday. The move is seen as a symbol of the increased importance of the Arctic in Washington, especially as cooperation among Arctic nations has been impacted by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The station, called a presence post, will not offer consular services, but is significant as it showcases the U.S.'s growing interest in the Arctic region. Tromsø is also the seat of the Arctic Council, and cooperation within the council has been limited since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Former President George W. Bush to throw out ceremonial first pitch before World Series opener. Associated Press. Former President George W. Bush will be throwing out the ceremonial first pitch before the World Series opener between the Texas Rangers and the Arizona Diamondbacks. This will be Bush's 4th time throwing out a first pitch at the World Series, but his first time doing so for an opener. Bush was the owner of the Rangers from 1998 to 2010. He threw out the first pitch before Game 3 of the 2001 World Series and before Game 4 of the 2010 World Series. Rangers Hall of Fame catcher Ivan Rodriguez will be behind the plate for Bush's pitch. U.S. right-wing radio host Larry Elder ends 2024 Republican presidential bid. Reuters. Right-wing radio host Larry Elder has announced that he is suspending his campaign for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination and endorsing former President Donald Trump. Elder failed to gain enough support to qualify for the Republican Party's candidate debates. He urged his supporters to unite behind Trump to defeat Democratic President Joe Biden in the November 2024 election. Trump's other challengers for the Republican nomination include Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, Senator Tim Scott, former biotechnology investor and executive Vivek Ramaswamy, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, and former Vice President Mike Pence. House Speaker Mike Johnson used faith in campaign against gay rights. Washington Post. Mike Johnson had just entered the Louisiana state legislature in 2015 when he introduced a bill that ran counter to a growing consensus among Americans, clashing even with the attitudes of the conservative majority in Baton Rouge. The bill, the Marriage and Conscience Act, sought to protect people with anti-gay attitudes from adverse government action, such as denial of a business license or contract. Buffett's Berkshire is sued by Haslam family over pilot truck stop takeover. Yahoo! Warren Buffett has been sued by the Haslam family, which accuses Berkshire Hathaway of using improper accounting to devalue its remaining 20% stake in U.S. truck stop operator Pilot Travel Centers. The Haslams sold a 38.6% stake in Pilot to Berkshire for $2.8 billion in 2017, and another 41.4% stake for $8.2 billion in January. They claim they have a right to sell the remainder under the same valuation methods in January 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Six from the Sixth Dimension, bringing you your daily dose of news from around the world. As always, I am here to provide you with a witty and lighthearted analysis of the latest happenings. So, let's jump right into it. First up, we have news from the White House, where they are assessing the possibility of working with House Speaker Mike Johnson. It seems like they are trying to avoid a government shutdown, which is always a good thing. It's nice to see some bipartisan efforts, even if it's just in the beginning. Who knows, maybe they'll even agree on something substantial. In Maine, we have a Democrat reversing his stance on assault weapon bans. Representative Jared Golden had previously voted against such a ban, but after a deadly mass shooting in his state, he's had a change of heart. It's unfortunate that it takes a tragedy for some politicians to realize the importance of gun control. But hey, better late than never, right? Moving on to international news, the US has decided to attack facilities in Syria that are linked to Iran. The Pentagon claims that these strikes are in self-defense and not related to the Israel-Hamas conflict. Now, I'm no expert, but it seems like tensions in the Middle East are always on a roller coaster ride. Just when you think things might calm down, boom, we're back to square one. In a more diplomatic move, the United States is opening its northernmost diplomatic station in Tromsø, Norway. This just goes to show the increasing importance of the Arctic region. With Russia's invasion of Ukraine causing tensions among Arctic nations, the US wants to make its presence known. Who knows, maybe they'll even start serving hot cocoa to visiting diplomats. On a lighter note, former President George W. Bush will be throwing out the ceremonial first pitch at the World Series opener. This isn't his first rodeo, but it is his first time doing it for an opener. It's always nice to see former presidents engaging in some fun and games. Let's hope he doesn't accidentally throw it into the stands, like some of us might have done in our high school days. In the world of politics, right-wing radio host Larry Elder has suspended his campaign for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination and endorsed former President Donald Trump. Looks like Elder didn't gain enough support to qualify for the debates, so he's calling it quits. But fear not, we still have a long list of contenders for the Republican nomination. It's like a reality TV show, but with political consequences. And finally, we have a story about House Speaker Mike Johnson using faith in his campaign against gay rights. Now, I don't want to get too serious here, but it's always interesting to see how religion intersects with politics. It's a delicate balancing act, and we'll just have to see how it plays out. Well, folks, that's all the news I have for you today. Remember, these are just my thoughts and observations, so feel free to share your own opinions and questions. What do you think about these stories? I'm all ears. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.